Hello, my friend. This time, our story is about Winston Churchill, a brave British leader and powerful speaker who guided his country through World War II with courage and strong words. As you listen, I invite you to relax and imagine each part of his life. This story is told in simple English, made for learners like you who love great stories. Let's begin the journey of Winston Churchill. Chapter 1. A Boy with Big Dreams. Winston Churchill was born in England in the year 1874. His full name was Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill. He was born in a large palace called Blenheim Palace. His family was rich and came from noble blood. His father was Lord Randolph Churchill, a well-known politician. His mother, Jenny Jerome, was American and very beautiful. She loved fashion and parties, but she also taught Winston to be proud and confident. From a young age, Winston dreamed of doing something great. As a small boy, Winston liked to read and play with toy soldiers. He often imagined battles and drew pictures of war. He did not like being alone, but his parents were often away. He spent most of his time with his nanny, Mrs. Everest. Mrs. Everest was more than a nanny to him. She gave him love, care, and warm hugs. Winston once said, "She was my dearest and most intimate friend." Her kindness helped young Winston feel safe when the world felt cold. When Winston was very young, he had a strong lisp. He could not say the letter S clearly. People laughed at him sometimes, but Winston did not give up. He kept talking, reading, and trying. Later, he became one of the best speakers in the world. He also loved adventure stories. He read books about brave soldiers and leaders. He wanted to be like them. In his heart, he knew he would not live a quiet life. He wanted to go out into the world and do something big. Winston was not like other boys. He was serious and full of imagination. He looked at the world with strong eyes. He was already dreaming of becoming a soldier, a writer, and a leader. Chapter 2. School Struggles and Secret Strength. Winston Churchill did not enjoy school when he was young. He went to different boarding schools far from his family. The buildings were cold, the days were long, and the rules were very strict. He often felt lonely and misunderstood. He was not good at all his lessons. He had trouble with math and Latin. His teachers said he was lazy and careless. One report even called him a constant troublemaker. But Winston was not lazy. He just learned in a different way. He liked reading books by himself. He loved words and history. He also had a strong memory. He could remember speeches and poems after hearing them only once or twice. He hated being told what to do. He wanted to make his own path. At one school, he wrote a letter to his mother. He said, "I do not like being ordered about." This showed his strong spirit, even at a young age. Winston finally entered Harrow School when he was 13. Harrow was a famous school for boys from rich families. At first, he still did poorly in most subjects. But something changed in his teenage years. He began to shine in writing and English. He also became interested in the military. He joined the school's army group. He enjoyed wearing the uniform, learning drills, and pretending to be a real soldier. He was not tall or strong, but he had courage. His father noticed that Winston liked military life, so he helped him enter a military academy. Winston studied hard to pass the test. He failed the first 2 times, but passed on the 3rd try. He was accepted into the Royal Military Academy at Sandhurst. Getting into Sandhurst was a big moment for Winston. It showed his secret strength. Even when people doubted him, he kept going. He never stopped believing that he could do something great. He graduated as a cavalry officer. His father was proud, but not for long. Sadly, Lord Randolph died just a few years later. Winston was still very young. He felt alone but more determined than ever. Chapter 3. The Young Soldier and Writer. After Winston Churchill finished his training at Sandhurst, he joined the British Army. He became a cavalry officer. His first posting was in India, far from home. It was a hot and exciting place for a young man full of energy. In India, Winston spent time riding horses and practicing drills. But he also read many books. He read history, politics, and philosophy. He wanted to grow his mind as well as his military skills. At night, while other officers relaxed, he studied by lamplight. Soon, he wanted more than just army life. He wanted adventure. He asked for permission to join dangerous missions. In 1897, he went to the northwest frontier near modern-day Pakistan. There, he fought in real battles and showed great bravery. Winston also began writing about what he saw. He sent reports to London newspapers. His writing was clear and exciting. He described battles, brave men, and the hard life of soldiers. People in England started to notice his name. In 1898, he went to Sudan with the British Army. He rode with soldiers in one of the last great cavalry charges in history. He was only 23 years old. After the battle, he wrote a book called The River War. It showed his skill as a writer and a thinker. Winston was not afraid of danger. In 1899, he went to South Africa as a war reporter. He covered the Boer War, which was between British forces and local fighters. But then something big happened. He was captured and taken as a prisoner. He was held in a small camp, far from the city. But Winston did not give up. One night, he climbed over a wall and escaped. He walked for days, hid on a train, and finally reached safety. The story of his escape made headlines across the world. When he returned to England, people cheered for him. He was now a young hero, a brave soldier, and a famous writer. His books and newspaper stories sold well. He had shown courage not only in war, but also in words. Winston Churchill now had something powerful: public attention. He had faced danger and won. His next step was not on the battlefield. He was ready to enter a new world: politics. Chapter 4. Into the World of Politics. Winston Churchill entered politics at the age of 25. In the year 1900, he was elected as a member of Parliament. He joined the Conservative Party, the same party his father once supported. But Winston often had his own ideas. He did not stay with the Conservatives for long. In 1904, he joined the Liberal Party. He believed they offered better help for workers and the poor. This move surprised many people. But Winston followed his beliefs, not just party lines. He spoke often in Parliament. His voice was strong and full of passion. He gave speeches about justice, freedom, and the future of Britain. People came to hear him speak. Even those who disagreed with him respected his power with words. In 1908, something important happened. Winston became a government minister for the first time. He was just 33 years old. That same year, he married Clementine Hosier. She was calm, kind, and smart. She would become his strongest support. As a young minister, Winston worked hard. He helped bring changes to help poor people. He supported health care, better work conditions, and fairer wages. Many saw him as a new kind of leader. He wanted both a strong country and a fair life for its people. In 1911, Winston became the First Lord of the Admiralty. This job gave him control over the Royal Navy. He worked day and night to make the Navy ready for war. He believed that trouble in Europe was coming soon. He wanted Britain to be prepared. Winston had big ideas and bold plans, but not every plan worked. During World War I, he supported an attack on a place called Gallipoli. It was a terrible failure. Many soldiers died, and the plan did not succeed. Winston took much of the blame. After Gallipoli, he resigned from his high post. Many thought his career was over, but Winston did not hide. He joined the army again and went to fight in France. He showed he was not afraid to stand with the soldiers. Later, he slowly returned to politics. He never stopped speaking or writing. He made many speeches and wrote articles about war, peace, and leadership. People still listened to him, but his power was not as strong as before. Winston Churchill was now a man who had seen both success and failure. He had stood in Parliament and in muddy battlefields. He was learning not just how to lead, but also how to rise again after falling. Chapter 5. A Voice During the Storm. The 1930s were a hard time for Winston Churchill. He was no longer in the government. He gave speeches and wrote books, but many people stopped listening to him. Some called him old-fashioned. Others thought his time had passed. But Winston saw danger that others ignored. A new leader named Adolf Hitler had come to power in Germany. Hitler was building a strong army and taking control of other countries. Winston warned Britain to be careful. He said war might come again. Many people did not believe him. They wanted peace and did not want to think about war. Britain's leaders tried to make deals with Hitler. Winston thought this was a mistake. He kept speaking out, warning the country in strong, serious words. He spoke in Parliament and wrote in newspapers. "We must be ready," he said again and again. "We must protect freedom." His speeches were powerful, full of energy and fire. Still, most leaders did not listen to him yet. As Hitler grew stronger, Winston's warnings became more real. In 1938, Hitler took control of Austria. Later, he took part of Czechoslovakia. Winston said, "This is only the beginning." He felt sad that his country was not doing more. In 1939, Hitler invaded Poland. This time, Britain had to act. The country finally declared war on Germany. People were afraid, and many remembered Churchill's warnings. Now they began to listen again. Winston Churchill returned to government. He was asked to lead the Navy again, just like in World War I. But he knew this war would be even bigger. Britain needed strong leadership, not just in the military, but in spirit. Winston's voice was steady and sure. He did not pretend the road would be easy. He said, "We have before us many, many long months of struggle and of suffering." But his strength gave people hope. His words became like a light in the storm. The storm was just beginning. But Winston Churchill was ready. His long years of waiting, warning, and speaking had prepared him for what was coming next. Chapter 6. The Darkest Hour. In May 1940, Britain faced its greatest danger. Nazi Germany had already taken many countries in Europe. France was falling fast. The British Army was trapped at the beaches of Dunkirk. People across Britain were afraid. At this moment, Winston Churchill became Prime Minister. He was 65 years old. He had waited many years for this job. Now it came at the hardest time. On his first day, he spoke to the nation. "I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat," he said. His words were serious and strong. He told the people the truth, not false hope, but his voice gave them courage. The war was going badly. German planes dropped bombs on cities. Every night, people ran to shelters. Fires burned across London. Children were sent away from their homes. The skies were dark with smoke. Winston did not hide. He walked through the streets, visiting people. He wore his black hat and held up his fingers in a V for victory. He smiled and gave comfort. He showed the people that he would not give up. Behind the scenes, he worked day and night. He led meetings, gave orders, and spoke to world leaders. He sent help to the soldiers at Dunkirk. In a miracle, many were saved. Almost 300,000 British and French troops came home. Then came the Battle of Britain. German planes tried to destroy the Royal Air Force. Winston watched closely. He knew the future of freedom depended on these brave pilots. He said, "Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few." His speeches were played on the radio. Families gathered around to listen. His words gave them hope, strength, and unity. He did not promise an easy road, but he promised they would never surrender. Winston Churchill stood strong in the darkest hour. His courage became the courage of the people. He was more than a prime minister. He was the voice of Britain, speaking through fear and fire. Chapter 7. Leading a Nation at War. Winston Churchill was now the leader of a nation at war. Every day brought new dangers. Germany bombed British cities, ships were sunk at sea, and soldiers died in many places. Still, Winston stayed strong. He held daily meetings with his war team. They met in a small room under London called the War Rooms. There, Winston planned battles, read reports, and gave orders. He made fast decisions and asked many questions. He spoke to his generals and his people with clear words. "We shall never surrender," he said. "We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets." These words were broadcast on the radio and printed in newspapers. While the war was terrible, Winston kept people united. He gave medals to brave soldiers and visited bombed areas. He ate with factory workers and thanked nurses. People called him the Lion of Britain. Winston also built strong ties with other countries. He became close friends with U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt. They wrote letters, sent messages, and spoke on the phone. Winston needed American help. Britain could not win the war alone. In 1941, Japan attacked the United States. Then America joined the war. This changed everything. Winston was happy. "Now we shall win," he told his team. He went to America many times to meet President Roosevelt and plan the next steps. Winston was also part of the Big Three, the leaders of Britain, the U.S., and the Soviet Union. They met in secret places to plan how to stop Hitler. These meetings were long and difficult, but Winston believed in working together. In 1944, British and American troops landed in France. This day was called D-Day. It was one of the biggest attacks in history. Winston had waited years for this moment. Now, he could see the end of the war coming closer. The British people were tired and hungry. Food was still limited. Cities were still broken. But Winston's voice kept their spirits strong. He reminded them why they were fighting. He said it was for freedom, for home, and for the future. Winston Churchill was more than a leader. He was the heart of a nation. Through long years of war, his strength helped carry the country forward. Chapter 8. Words that moved the world. Winston Churchill was not only a leader, he was also one of the greatest speakers in history. His voice was deep and full of power. His words gave people strength during the darkest times. He chose his words carefully. He spent hours thinking about every speech. Sometimes, he practiced out loud in front of a mirror. He wanted each sentence to sound clear, strong, and full of meaning. During World War II, people gathered around radios to hear him speak. He did not hide the truth. He spoke of danger, hard times, and great losses. But he also spoke of hope, courage, and victory. One of his most famous speeches came after the fall of France. He said, "Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duties, and so bear ourselves that, if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say, 'This was their finest hour.'" These words made people believe in themselves. His speeches were printed in newspapers. Children read them at school. Families read them at home. His words gave people something to hold on to when everything around them seemed lost. Winston also spoke in Parliament. He faced loud arguments and strong opinions. But when he spoke, people listened. He used short sentences and simple words. He spoke not just to the politicians, but to every man and woman in Britain. Even leaders in other countries praised his speeches. President Roosevelt in the U.S. called him the voice of freedom. Soldiers in faraway lands carried small copies of his speeches in their pockets. His words helped them stay strong. After the U.S. joined the war, Winston gave speeches to American leaders and people. He spoke to the U.S. Congress and said, "The price of greatness is responsibility." He reminded them that freedom was not free. His speeches were not just for war. He also spoke about peace, friendship, and building a better world. He dreamed of a time when countries would work together. His words planted seeds of hope for the future. Winston Churchill believed in the power of words. He knew that when spoken with truth and feeling, words could move hearts. They could shape history. And in his case, they helped save a nation. Chapter 9. The war ends, but not the fight. In 1945, after 6 long years, the war in Europe ended. Nazi Germany was defeated. People all across Britain celebrated in the streets. They cheered, waved flags, and danced with joy. Winston Churchill stood on the balcony of a building in London. He waved to the crowd below. He smiled, but his heart was heavy. The war was over, but many lives had been lost. Cities were broken. Families were changed forever. He gave a short speech. He said, "This is your victory." The people shouted back, "No, it's yours." But Winston knew the victory belonged to everyone. Soldiers, nurses, workers, and all the people had helped win the war. Soon after, a new election was held in Britain. Many people wanted change. They wanted better homes, jobs, and schools. Winston had led them in war, but now they chose someone else to lead them in peace. Winston was shocked. He had given everything during the war. Now, he was no longer prime minister. Still, he did not complain. He said, "That's democracy," and wished the new leader well. Even without power, Winston stayed active. He gave speeches and wrote books. He warned the world about new dangers. One of his new fears was the Soviet Union. He believed another kind of fight was beginning. One without guns, but still serious. In 1946, he gave a speech in the United States. He spoke of an iron curtain falling across Europe. This was the start of what later became known as the Cold War. Once again, Winston used his words to warn the world. In 1951, the people of Britain chose Winston again. He returned as Prime Minister at the age of 77. This time, the world was different. It was the time of rebuilding, not war. He worked hard to help Britain grow strong again. He met with world leaders and spoke about peace. He wanted countries to talk, not fight. His second time as Prime Minister lasted only a few years, but his voice still mattered. Winston Churchill showed that his work was not finished after the war. His life journey continued. Even in peace, he kept standing for freedom, for truth, and for the future of his people. Chapter 10. The Final Years and Lasting Legacy. Winston Churchill stayed in politics until the mid-1950s. He served his country for over 60 years. But by 1955, his health was getting weaker. He decided it was time to step down. He left the job of Prime Minister and returned to private life. He spent more time with his family. He also painted and wrote books. He loved painting quiet country scenes. He said it helped him rest his mind. Writing also gave him peace. He wrote many books about history and his own life journey. In 1953, Winston won the Nobel Prize in Literature. This award was not for war or politics. It was for his powerful writing and great speeches. People across the world respected him, not just as a leader, but as a man of words. Even after he left office, world leaders still visited him. They asked for his advice. They thanked him for his role in saving freedom. He listened, smiled, and gave wise answers. His voice was softer now, but still full of meaning. His final years were quiet. He spent time at home, enjoying his garden and his books. His health slowly became worse. In 1965, Winston Churchill passed away at the age of 90. The whole world stopped to honor him. His funeral was one of the largest in history. Leaders from many countries came to London. They stood together to say goodbye. British people lined the streets in silence. Some cried, some waved flags. All felt the loss. Winston Churchill was remembered as a man who stood tall in hard times. He was a leader, a writer, a speaker, and a fighter. He did not give up, even when things looked impossible. He believed in courage, duty, and the power of words. Today, people still read his speeches. They still study his life journey. His story helps many understand history, war, and leadership. For English learners around the world, his real story is a way to learn English through story and feel the strength of true words. Winston Churchill's legacy lives on. His voice, once heard during war, now speaks to peace. His journey is over, but his spirit continues to inspire. Thank you, my friend, for joining this life journey of Winston Churchill through this real story. His voice once gave hope to a world in danger. Now it continues to teach us through simple, powerful English. Until next time, keep enjoying stories and discovering great lives through English listening practice.